How much of our time and energy is spent on things, or what did we do that really didn't matter? How much of our lives did we sacrifice for one thing? To buy physically or to attract someone's attention, but then we found out that it wasn't worth it. Hello, friends. Have a good day and night. I wish you a good heart and a beautiful life. I'm Lena, and together we will travel to the inner world and walk the path of awareness. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of my latest videos. Thank you so much for supporting me and cheering me up with your kind heart. It may be strange, but this statement of Lao Tzu almost 2,500 years ago has now become one of the great sources for psychologists and thinkers today. Today's world has become so glamorous and full of progress and crowded that sometimes we all get dizzy and lose ourselves in it. Look at our identities. Who am I? Doctor, engineer, I have this house, I have this car, I am friends with such and such people, I have traveled to such and such a country. If you've noticed, I'm really lost in it. We are defining ourselves by the things around us. It is not bad. Let's not get misunderstood. But from a certain point onwards, the crowds around us alienate us from ourselves. And this is the important question that says, does more possessions really equal more happiness? And the good news is this 2,500-year-old way of thinking has become in its current form, and it is even called the minimalist lifestyle. What may be called a stranger to today's luxuries, but it is the same peace that is we need it now. An ancient Greek philosopher named Epicurus believed that in order to be happy, no need for all these extravagant luxuries and pleasures, not luxury and expensive travel, gathering a lot of money and resources, gaining power through politics. These are all good, but the problem is that in the long run, they do not satisfy us. In fact, these kinds of things are just the salt of life, but if we don't know how to cook, it doesn't matter. Our food is very salty or unsalted. If it is too much, to value the spices of our lives too much causes us to have irrational expectations of ourselves and our time, energy, and we even lose our morals. Epicurus, he would say that I am satisfied with my life when I have food to eat and that I have philosophical discussions with others enough for me. Now, why does this matter? Recently, minimalism itself has been chosen as a lifestyle, and people are choosing this style in order to eliminate the unnecessary items of their lives. Why? In order to get rid of the crowd around them. All these types of minimalisms have one thing in common: the use of minimums to achieve the goal. Whether it wants to be a good piece of music, a wonderful art, or a pleasant living environment. But can we really be happy with this method? How can we live a happy and successful life without spending a lot of money? How can we be satisfied without spending too much? How can we be rich with the bare minimum? Hundreds of philosophers in the past have answered these questions. They gave different answers. Lots of assets doesn't necessarily make someone rich. Sometimes rich people want to accumulate more, and they're afraid of losing what they're having. They're stressed and distrustful of others, and they even live in isolation from community. These people may be successful in accumulating wealth, but doing so without great sacrifices are not possible. That this whether or not it's worth it depends on your philosophy of life. It may be worth it for a person to put themselves in trouble, but it may not make sense to another person at all. It depends on your philosophy of life. For example, someone who works 100 hours a week definitely has barely time to rest, and he also has very, very little time to spend with his family and friends, which is what Epicurus believed this is one of the sources of happiness. In addition, according to a study in the American Journal of Industrial Medicine, working more than 40 hours a week is bad for your health and increase the risk of heart disease. Another study that was published in the Journal of Occupational Medicine shows working 45 hours per week for at least 10 years increased the risk of heart disease. Of course, everyone the rich don't work, and all the people who work a lot, they are not necessarily rich. But well, there's definitely a tangible connection in between. A philosopher following the thoughts of Lao Tzu in the name of Chang Tzu 2,000 years ago said that the world values money, fame, long life, and success, but it condemns poverty, low social status, notoriety, and death. Nothing has changed since then. People want the things that the world values, and they avoid that which condemns it. And if they are deprived of what they want, they will be terrified and disappointed. As Chang Tzu said, they are worried about their lives, and anxiety is ruining their lives. IT makes it unbearable, even when they have the things they wanted. Now back to the question of whether these pleasures, are they worth all the work and stress? Or maybe we should be able to find cheap pleasures. A philosopher American naturalist named Henry David Thoreau was a professional minimalist himself. He was 2 years in a small cabin next to a pond in Walden, and that too only with essentials like a bed, a table, and a few chairs. And during this time, he wrote his own experiences, and then in the form of a book called Walden was printed. Thoreau realized that if he had allowed himself to get used to luxury, far-flung and expensive travel, and the taste of great wines, these things become more and more for him, and the simple things lose their value and cause our need to be diverted to expensive pleasures. For example, even he would say that I don't want to exchange my village for Paris. He believed that the hassles and high cost of living are the consequences of being interested in things that are beyond our needs. And if we do these things, pleasures that are readily available may go into the background and seem disinterested and boring and fail to meet our needs. And nothing the other does not make us happy. But Thoreau clung to ordinary pleasures and everyday phenomena, like things during the daily walks and conversations with neighbors, or, for example, seeing a falcon in the meadows. He wrote, I'm not ambitious. I don't want to bury my hometown because of neglect. It's only a good trip that reveals to me the value of the house. The one whose pleasure is cheaper is richer. It can be said that the richest person is not the person who has the most things, but the one who enjoys the most with what he has and is the most satisfied. Someone who is full of unfulfilled desires. So the bad news is that all of us humans have a series of desires that may never be fulfilled, is poor. But the one who is content is rich. Seneca, another great philosopher, said, "If you want to make someone happy, don't add to his wealth, but subtract from his desires." But what are these cheap pleasures that Thoreau is talking about? How can we enjoy life at a low cost? Different ideas about the meaning of cheap pleasure there is because the pleasure is different for everyone, and whether something is cheap or not depends on individual circumstances. For example, Robert Chambers, one of the great scientists and geologists of the 19th century, believed reading books is a cheap way to enjoy. He used to say that reading, it's almost as free as breathing. It seems that nature's best cheap pleasures tell us that we only need to limit our desires to good, pure, and valuable things in order to be satisfied without spending. Chambers' proposal is in line with Arthur Schopenhauer's view of life. Schopenhauer believed that the highest pleasures are intellectual pleasures, like thinking and craving for a poem, learning or reading and meditating, and he believed that all other pleasures that are not intellectual are of the lower pleasure type, and these are always met with a cost that may be troublesome. Intellectual pleasures are often cheap. Those who enjoy it can live the life of the world we should consider today as a blessing. Because food for our minds widely available today, and it's almost free of charge. Of course it costs money, but today a book costs as much as a meal. You're happy to eat fast food for 5 minutes, but you can be happy and enjoy it by reading book for 1 year. What Schopenhauer refers to as low-end pleasures can be even cheaper, such as enjoying a delicious meal, which doesn't necessarily have to be in a luxury restaurant, and you can cook it yourself. So, perhaps the most important thing is to figure out what really makes us happy, and what we want to pursue, and what we don't. Unfortunately, for example, the fashion industry has become a very big business today, so that every year, by creating false and useless needs, they force people to buy new clothes, while their previous clothes are not old at all. And it has not been washed even once. Many celebrities, when, for example, a report is prepared for an interview at their home and they show their wardrobe, it is really surprising why they should have so many clothes, whereas another person really needs them. Why shouldn't they give them to him? Something that is unfortunately involved in today's society and culture, and the main reason for this is because we have all moved away from minimalism and from simplifying life and enjoying the moment. As Lao Tzu believed, real wealth, that is, the satisfaction that comes from simple and cheap pleasures. Finally, I have to say that simple and inexpensive pleasures require practice, And we need to learn how to enjoy from simple things, even if other things tempt us. Now the main question is, what do each of us really enjoy? Please share your experiences with us in the comments. My friends, remember that our greatest joys are often intertwined with our deepest sorrows. I hope this part has helped your life a little. You are invited to grow. Just remember, every great journey begins with a small step. Thank you for being with me on this journey today. Thank you so much for supporting us with your valuable likes and comments. Stay tuned for my new videos, and finally, hello, and the light of God's kindness shines brighter than ever.